Let's look closely at the geography of Kauaʻi. It is vibrant, vivid, and deeply alive, far from a dusty relic of ancient history. According to popular Hawaiian mythology, these dense forests were home to the Menehune. They are described as a secretive, magical race of people, standing only about 3 feet tall. The stories say they were master craftsmen. If you needed a road, a temple, or a dam, the Menehune could build it overnight. They would pass heavy basalt rocks hand by hand across miles of terrain, fitting them together perfectly without any mortar. You can still see the physical results of this legend today on Kauaʻi. The island is home to massive feats of ancient engineering, like the 24-foot-high Menehune Ditch and the 900-foot rock wall of the ʻAlekoko Fishpond. Anthropologists are quick to point out that we have zero skeletal evidence of a diminutive human species anywhere in Hawaii. But before we write the Menehune off as pure folklore, we have to look at a very specific and very real government document. In 1820, King Kauaʻi conducted an official demographic census of Kauaʻi. It was a standard administrative headcount, but tucked away in the Wainiha Valley records, the census explicitly lists 65 individuals whose nationality is recorded as Menehune. Why would 65 living, breathing, tax-paying humans legally register their nationality as mythological forest creatures? The structures attributed to the Menehune share a distinct signature. The stone cutting and assembly techniques are highly intricate, and archaeologists note they predate the known Polynesian populations that built the rest of ancient Hawaii. To figure out who actually built these walls, we have to look at a specific Tahitian word, manahune. This diagram breaks down the translation. Manahune has nothing to do with physical height. In Tahitian society, the word simply meant commoner or a person of lower class. The defining trait of these people was their marginalized position in a strict social hierarchy, not a supernatural physical size. Between the years 1000 and 1200 CE, the first wave of Polynesian explorers navigated across miles of open ocean from the Marquesas to settle Hawaii. These early arrivals were incredibly skilled stonemasons. They spent centuries laying the foundation for the island's agricultural infrastructure, building the massive dams and fish ponds. This map shows that initial Marquesan migration path, but a few hundred years later, a second, larger wave of settlers arrived from Tahiti. The Tahitians established a rigid class system. They installed themselves as the ruling elite, known as the ali'i. The original Marquesan builders were subjugated into the laboring class, which the Tahitians referred to as the manahune. Facing misoppression, the original Marquesan settlers slowly retreated northwest across the island chain, pushed further and further out by the Tahitian expansion. They eventually concentrated on Kauaʻi, using the island's steep canyons and dense isolated valleys as a final refuge to preserve their community. This explains our 1820 census. Those 65 people in the Wainiha Valley were not claiming to be magical woodland creatures. They proudly self-identified as the Kama'aina, unassimilated indigenous survivors of Hawaii's very first wave of settlement. So how did a real, highly skilled society of human engineers end up remembered as mischievous little sprites? In the late 1800s, an influx of Western journalists and anthropologists arrived in Hawaii and began recording the local oral histories. When these foreign writers heard stories of secretive people living in the Vimy Forest who built things at night, they filtered the history through their own cultural lens. They mapped European fairy tale tropes, like Irish leprechauns and Scottish brownies, directly onto the indigenous Marquesan builders. Over the next century, this mistranslation solidified. A displaced indigenous population was repackaged into a palatable, cartoonish myth, eventually used to sell everything from airline tickets to chocolate-covered macadamia nuts. But while the pop culture image of the Menehune was reduced to folklore, the physical infrastructure they built continued to irrigate taro fields and sustain local ecosystems for hundreds of years. The original inhabitants of Kauaʻi never relied on magic. They were Hawaii's first master engineers, and if you look closely at the stonework scattered across the island, it stands as an open-air museum of their true human ingenuity.